Modern houses across the country usually have roofs that are made of tiles or slates, and if you're in a really new house, they may even have solar panels these days. However, travel around the countryside and you'll still find a few places where thatched roofs are still very much a thing. A lot have disappeared since the early 1800s, but those that remain are one of the best things about rural England. Well, they are in my opinion anyway. So why don't we have more of these buildings? What's happened to them, and why are we now building houses with tiled roofs instead? Let's first explore what thatching actually is. Thatching is the craft of building a roof with dry vegetation such as straw, waterweed, sedge, rushes, heather, or palm branches. You take these and layer them in such a way that rainwater drains away from the roof. Since the bulk of the vegetation stays dry and is densely packed, it traps air, creating natural insulation. It's a very old roofing method and has been used in both tropical and temperate climates. Before the straw used for the process is laid onto the roof, it's arranged into bundles known as yelms. When it reaches the roof, it's held down with staples, known as spars, which are made from twisted hazel sticks. A lot of thatched roofs are really thick, and there's a reason for that. Traditionally, a new layer of straw is simply applied over the weathered surface of the old one, and this is known as spar coating. Thatch accumulations can therefore be over 7 foot thick on very old buildings. Over 250 roofs in southern England have base coats of thatch that were applied over 500 years ago. Almost all of those roofs are thatched with wheat, rye, or a maslin mixture of both. Medieval wheat grew to almost 6 feet tall in very poor soils and produced durable straw for the roof and grain for baking bread. Whilst thatching is not as popular as it once was in the United Kingdom, countries such as Germany, the Netherlands, Denmark, France, Belgium and Ireland have lots of properties that bear a thatched roof. Good quality straw thatch can last for more than 50 years when applied by a skilled thatcher. Thatching methods have traditionally been passed down from generation to generation, and numerous descriptions of the materials and methods used in Europe over the past 3 centuries survive in archives and early publications. Thatch is still employed by builders in developing countries, usually the ones which have low-cost local vegetation readily available for it. In England, thatch was the only roofing material available to the bulk of the population in many towns and villages until the late 1800s. It wasn't until commercial distribution of Welsh slate began in 1820 that other roofing methods became available. This was mainly because of the mobility provided by the canals and the railways. Even so, the number of thatched properties actually increased in the UK during the mid-1800s as agriculture expanded. They then declined again at the end of the 19th century thanks to the agricultural recession and rural depopulation. Gradually, thatch became a mark of poverty and the number of houses with a thatched roof declined, as did the number of professional thatchers. Today, there are nowhere near the number there once were, but there are still 60,000 properties in the UK with a thatched roof. They're usually made of long straw, combed wheat reed or water reed. Thatch has become much more popular again in the UK over the past 30 years and is now a symbol of wealth rather than poverty. In the UK and other developed countries, whilst it still offers the same waterproofing and insulation as ever, having a thatched roof is now seen as a luxury, and mostly it's an aesthetic thing, because it does look nice. There are approximately 1,000 full-time thatchers that work in the UK, and the roofing technique is becoming popular again because of the renewed interest in preserving historic buildings and using more sustainable building materials. However, there are some major drawbacks as a roofing method. For example, because thatch is so dry, it's so easy for it to catch fire, and many thatched buildings have done that over the centuries. It doesn't take much for it to catch light either. They're seen as highly flammable and can ignite easily from various sources, including chimney fires, faulty electric wiring, or even sunlight if we get a really hot summer. Thatch can attract insects too, including spiders, which isn't exactly ideal if you're an arachnophobe. Organic thatch is also susceptible to decay, especially in warm, wet climates, and can be damaged by animals. All these things mean that thatch requires regular maintenance and inspection, and that adds to home insurance premiums. In conclusion, thatching is by no means the best, most energy efficient or safest roofing method we have anymore. That said, a thatched cottage is still a symbol of the English countryside, and aren't they beautiful?